us, though. Jill Smith was just 19 years old when she fell pregnant. It was the early 1960s, a time where unwed mothers were frowned upon, and worried about the stigma on her family, she gave up her baby for adoption.
However, she never forgot the son she gave birth to, and in an incredible story, she was reunited with him 40 years later. Jill and her son Nick join us now, and welcome to both of you. This is a lovely story because we already know it has a wonderful ending to it. But let's go back to the very beginning of this story, and it was 1962. You were 19 years old. You're a civil servant, and you're naive to the world.
Absolutely.
You were dating an older guy who was divorced, and when you lost your virginity, you fell pregnant.
That's right.
So back then, I mean, this is different times, and this was not the done thing for a young teenage single woman to fall pregnant. So tell me a little bit about that. I mean, you were worried about your parents' reaction, weren't you?
I think, like all women, you're worried about your family's reaction. It wasn't a story where he just went off and deserted me, but at some stage we had to tell my parents. I did it, or we did it, when my father was away, and the shutters came down, and that was it. It was taken out of my hands, and...
Well, this was something that was, you know, going to bring shame on the whole family.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I had a brother and sister as well, but they didn't even know I was pregnant. I mean, the good thing about it being 62, 63 was it was a very, very bad winter. You're too young to remember.
I was born in 62.
You baby. But it hid a lot of things that winter. Life wasn't normal. And I went to a private nursing home where I had a caesarean. Wasn't supposed to have that, but you know, it left you intact. And
well, before that, and I hope it's not too painful to. I mean, we won't dwell on it too much. But before that, because this is a time where there's no sex education.
Right.
No one was.
Rabbits we had at school.
Yeah. Yes, and
didn't
that's
help.
not very helpful.
No.
And so so you went to you find yourself, as Holly says, you find yourself pregnant, and because you hadn't been told what was going to happen. But you did go to a backstreet abortionist.
It was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous, yes. Didn't think you could die. You're just desperate, aren't you?
Yes.
It didn't work.
Thank
well, we
goodness.
wouldn't be sitting
Clearly.
here.
Yeah. But you say that was such a lonely and terrible experience, and you can even remember what the liner was like on the floor.
Well, it was just tiled floor.
Yeah.
And whatever your views are on abortion, I'm glad those days are over.
Yes.
And people did die.
Yes. So thankfully, that, as you say, that was unsuccessful, and you arranged to have the caesarean at the private nursing home. So what about the birth?
Well, I mean, it was out of my hands. I was out of it under anaesthetic. Didn't know if I'd had a boy or a girl, and that was it.
So the baby was born and then whisked away.
Oh yeah, straight away.
So you never saw the child.
Never saw him at all.
They told you you were having a boy.
No.
They didn't.
I didn't know anything. I learnt eventually. When
did you find the birth certificate in your mother's bag?
Yes, I did.
Your mother's handbag.
Yes, I did.
So you knew his
I
name.
knew his name then, because that was interesting. I didn't know who had given him his names, but it was Nick's adopted mum who gave him the names. And sadly, a lot of those names are changed when children are adopted as well. But he kept his.
So the baby is gone.
Yeah.
And what was going on inside your head and your heart?
Just bereft, and that doesn't leave you. It never leaves you. I mean, I don't know how far you want me to go forward as to my putting an ad in the paper when he was 40. Do you want me to stop at this point?
No, that's fine, that's fine.
Well, I put an ad in a very well-known newspaper, carefully worded. I don't know why I thought he'd read it. Do men read personal columns? But he didn't.
He's shaking his head.
It's just something I needed to do, and it was at that stage that Nick had started the ball rolling to try and find me.
Yes, because this was so that you got to your 40th birthday, and you'd always known that you were adopted,
yes,
didn't
that's right.
you? It was not. This wasn't a big surprise or a secret.
No.
Your adoptive family were very open and very honest with you. So I guess when you what was it when you hit 40 that you suddenly thought, actually, this is a lady, this is somebody that I want to have back in my life?
Yes, I mean, it sort of started off when my daughter was born a few years earlier. You sort of
Changes everything,
yes, it
doesn't
changes
it?
everything. You know, finally there was somebody on this planet who was a blood relative. My only blood relative was my daughter. And I started the ball rolling, but didn't really go very far. And then, you know, when you've got a new child, your life, you know, is focused on that. But when I got to 40, I thought maybe, you know, I've got to do something. I can't just spend another 40 years doing nothing. You quite often regret what you don't do in life. So when I found an organisation that could help me, you know, it all worked very fast. They're very efficient. And
But your whole outlook on going into this was very admirable, actually. You didn't want to meet your mother to say, why did you desert me? You went into this sort of very, very calmly and with just the opinion that you just wanted to open up the paths of communication again and meet your mother.
yes, I mean, there was no major strong emotions. I mean, I actually grew up in a perfectly normal family. I had a mother and a father and a sister who was also adopted. So I didn't have any sense of being treated badly or any sense of loss. So, no, it was more of interest. You know, I just would like to know a little bit more. It'd be quite interesting to find out.
Well, you had gone on to have your family. You have your 2 sons and a daughter, and sadly, you lost a daughter. So very early on, which
Yes, she was my husband's and my firstborn, and she died of congenital heart disease. So whilst everybody was sympathetic about that, it was a double whammy for me.
yes, because you'd lost another baby.
Yeah.
So when it came to getting back together again, you had initiated it, and so the letter you would have known that the letter was going to go out, and that you didn't know that it was on its way. So when you got it, what did it say? Because this is done so carefully and so gently, isn't it? It's worded in a way so that you can back out if you need to back out, if those around you don't know what's gone on previously. What did you think when you saw it?
Well, funnily enough, we were in Spain at the time, and my youngest son was living with us whilst he was doing a self-build. And I told him to open all this mail and everything. He thought it was something from Genes Reunited. It was that carefully worded. It said something like, Nicholas Bingham, which was his name originally, has lost touch with his relatives, and we notice this is your maiden name. We wonder if you can help. So it didn't... I knew what it was exactly, but I didn't know the organisation, and I was shocked because nobody knew of his birth, no one at all, except my husband. I told him before we were married, and I had to look them up online. I thought, how somebody got hold of this information? And
well, it rolled on from there, and you decided to meet. And what was that meeting like?
Well,
where was it?
It was in Tewkesbury. Because Nick's wife comes from Cheltenham, and I know the area as well, and I actually chose the venue, didn't I? A lot of people tend to do it under the clock at Waterloo or something like that. I couldn't be in public, and I got there first. I think your brother-in-law had given you wrong directions. You were
I was running late.
yeah. But he did phone me and tell me that.
You said 40 years and 10 minutes late.
Well, I don't remember saying that. And I'd parked up at the end of this lane, and there was his car coming down the road.
Oh,
and I knew he could see me. It's like a film, really, isn't it? I knew that he could see me, and I couldn't see him. And you've no idea what it's going to be like. I mean, we did it exactly the right way, how we're told by the NORCAP organisation to do it, you know, the emails, then the phone calls. And it was just, well, as I said in my letter that was in the paper last week, it was a 40-year and 9-month hug, and I was in bits.
Well, the thing is, what's wonderful about it is the fact that you like each other, because after that amount of time, it is... when you finally get to meet your mother, for you were worried, you know, what happens if I don't like her? But
yes, and it's not like, say, meeting somebody on a date. You can always just leave and never see them again, and, you know, it doesn't matter. But when it's you've only got one biological mother, so you have one chance to make it work.
And all your families are talking now. Everybody's
pretty much,
talking, the ones involved. And your adoptive parents have spoken to you on the telephone because they wanted to know a little bit more about the early days.
I asked for that, actually, to speak to Nick's adopted mum, yes, just to glean a bit of information about him. All the bad points as well, of course.
And you've got another granddaughter, which you didn't know
yes,
about?
that's right. She was 9 when I first met her. and I've now got seven grandchildren. So, and she, I have to say, there's quite a bit of me in her looks. Only she's lovely and tall and slim, but yes, yes. And,
Well,
and we got the same coloured eyes. Yes.
Yeah.
As Holly said at the beginning, what's lovely to have you here is that we knew that there was a happy ending to
Yeah.
this one, and thank you so much, both of you, for coming in and telling
Sharing
the
it with
story.
us,
It's,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a
That
lovely
wasn't
story.
so bad after all.
There you are, you see?
Good,
Nice
good,
and
good.
easy. We'll make it as easy as possible. Thank you.
Thank you both.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Well, if you've been affected by